Hi, we're back for more fun with makeup and beauty over here, and today I wanted to share with you 5 brands that I have the intention of trying in 2024. Here's how we're going to go about this list. First, because I am a diligent person that works hard towards her goals, I'm going to tell you the brand that I already tried, the one that I will be trying very soon, and that will leave us with 3 other brands that I see myself trying in 2024 and that I have already identified some space in my collection where some of the products that I want to try from these brands that I haven't tried before could come in as replacements or to bring something into my collection that is unique or I haven't seen quite so far. If this is your first time here and you haven't seen any of my shenanigans before, I hope you consider subscribing so that we can have more fun together with makeup and beauty. But if you are a returning visitor, if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for joining in once again. So let's get going with these 5 brands that I am trying in 2024. Okay, let's get started with brand number 1, which is kind of a spoiler. It's a brand where, we've already fulfilled the thing, like we've done it. I've already tried it. I actually started trying it right at the beginning of 2024. I had my eye on the brand from, other creators mentioning them and seeing some of the releases that they were teasing and revealing on social media. And it definitely had my attention, but I hadn't quite pulled the trigger yet. And then they had a sale in late December. And so I saw that as my opportunity and I decided to pull the trigger. The brand is Unearthly Cosmetics. So originally, the palette that really caught my attention with Unearthly and really got me going, like, ooh, I really want to try that brand, was the Don't Be Jelly palette. I didn't get it in the purchase that I made because, again, I already bought products from this brand and I've been trying them for a couple of months at this point. But the Don't Be Jelly palette is really the one that caught my attention because it looked like a really vivid color story, and I love blues and I love purples. It's, in my opinion, a fairly cool tone palette, so it definitely caught my eye. I really like the jellyfish artwork. I think it's really cool. So I was like, maybe this is the moment to try Unearthly, but I know it sold out at one point, and then I couldn't bring myself to do it. But then in late December, Unearthly announced that they were reformulating a couple of their palettes, so I bought 4. I bought 4. I only have 3 with me. One of them I got shipped to the US, so I won't get to try it until the summer. But I got these 3 palettes from Unearthly Cosmetics. I bought Dead of Night, Fairy Frolic, and Not Normal. So I have tried all of them repeatedly. I've done multiple looks with all of them. So let me just show you what they look like. So this is a Fairy Frolic palette. I really like the artwork. It's one of my favorite things about the Unearthly palettes. Looks like this. And here are the swatches in my medium tan skin tone. Names of the shades are Fairy, Fern, which is the hardest one to pull on my skin tone because it's kind of like a mustard, Mystical Moss, Meadow, which is this like yellow green, Bark, this chocolate brown, Snapdragon, a matte pinky mauve, Queen Mab, which is kind of this coppery shade, Eden, which is this very vivid forest green, and Frolic, which is a more golden copper tone. A really, really cool, whimsical kind of color story. Definitely something that, I don't know, in normal conditions, I would kind of be intimidated to try. But in this case, I understand why Unearthly wants to reformulate this palette because the mattes are not the most stable, in my opinion. They do need a little bit of work. They're somewhat dusty and somewhat patchy. And in my opinion, they don't always work super well with all kinds of brushes. So in my experience, they work best with natural brushes as opposed to synthetic brushes. They also work best when you apply an eyeshadow primer on the eyelid. So just because this palette is being discontinued to be reformulated, like I don't regret buying it, but I've definitely learned from using it that you have to finesse a little bit to maximize the matte and make them easier to work with. But I really, really like the looks that I've gotten out of it, and the shimmers are beautiful. I think that the shimmers don't really need that much work. If anything, maybe they could amp up the formula to make them more impactful, but the shimmers work beautifully. I do think that what needs the most reformulation in this palette is the mattes. Palette number 2 from Unearthly, Not Normal. Look how cool the artwork is. It's just so awesome. It's just neat. I just think it's neat. This is what the palette looks like, a slightly darker color story than the one before, and I think that it matches the theme of the palette quite well. Let me show you some swatches. Here are the swatches of Not Normal from Unearthly Cosmetics in my medium tan arm. From the left, your left? My left, your left, I don't know. From this direction to this direction, we have Day Job, Topaz, Gemini, really cool shade, Sultry, Basic, which on me is not really much of a shade, much of a lid setter, Emerald, pretty straightforward, Exercise, Taupe, not quite the taupe that you would normally think about, but probably one of my favorite shades in the palette, Smoke, this very dark brown black, Emotions, also a great shade, Sage, this green, and Grunge, this brown. Same issue with these shades here. The shimmers, in my opinion, could be more impactful, and the mattes do take a little bit of build-up, take a little bit of work. I've had, again, better experience with these mattes using natural brushes as opposed to synthetic brushes, and overall, the palette performs better when you use an eyeshadow primer. Can you use it without an eyeshadow primer? Yes, but it's just gonna give you a little bit more grief, and you're gonna have to apply a little bit more of blending elbow grease to make it work, at least in my inexpert makeup hands. Maybe other people can make this palette work better, but again, it's the same thing. The mattes could be easier to work with, in my opinion, so I can see why Unearthly wants to reformulate them. I would maybe hope for maybe a slightly creamier matte, a matte that is slightly easier to pick up. I don't know if these are hard pressed in the pan, and I see the same thing with Fairy Frolic, but sometimes you're really picking from the really superficial layer, and sometimes you don't get as much pigment as you want, but it's definitely not like a waste of a palette. It's not an unworkable palette. I find the color story quite unique, and I definitely have nothing like this in my collection, and I've had a lot of fun with it. However, same thing with Fairy Frolic, which I've seen described in other people's videos as a neutral palette. They're more wearable than you think they are. So if you have these, give them a chance. They're not just for colorful looks, definitely, but I've enjoyed both of them. However, I do see where Unearthly may be coming from in wanting to reformulate them and maybe have them match more closely what seems to be their newer formula, like what's in the Don't Be Jelly palette, what's in the Resurgence palette that they did with Heather Austin, which seems to be very, very much higher impact shimmers than what we have here, and mattes that are slightly easier to work with. Palette number 3 is Dead of Night, and this one is my favorite of the 3. Let's look at some swatches. This color story is much more my speed in terms of my personal preferences. I love purples. Purple is my favorite color. I love grays. I love blues, especially these dark blues. I feel like that goes really, really well with my brown eyes. So this color story immediately caught my attention. Here are the swatches in my medium to deep skin tone, medium tan skin tone, and shade names are Star, look how pretty that duochrome is, Sweet Dreams, Murk, Gloom, Cloud, Dead of Night, Dimness, Misty, that's a very, very pretty lavender, Forest, another duochrome-ish shade, Garden, Nightfall, really, really cool, kind of dull-ish silver, and Bedtime, which is this gorgeous, gorgeous dark blue. Yeah, this is a color story that really, really calls to me because it's like, it's dark and you can make it really, really intense, but you can also just have some fun with the shimmers and the duochromes and make something really witchy is the word that I think about. When I think about this palette, I think witchy in the best possible sense. And to be honest, out of the three that I have here, this is the one where I question the most, how much does Unearthly really need to reformulate? I didn't experience the same issues with the mattes in this palette that I did with the other ones. The mattes in this palette are much easier to work with and give you a much more uniform pigment. Again, same thing. I got a much better result blending with natural brushes. That might just be an issue that natural brushes are better at blending, who knows? But I didn't experience, it wasn't as hard to work with this palette as it was with the other two. And the shimmers in this one, I think that you got to see that are slightly more impactful. I think that, if I remember correctly, Rachel Palmieri, when she put this palette in her 2023 ranking, she explained that this palette already has the new Unearthly Shimmer formula, but they are going to update the matte. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that Unearthly, with a move like this, seems to want to make the formulas across their palettes consistent and not just be like, oh, it's good enough, we're just gonna leave it like that. If they are improving their formulas, I appreciate that they're pulling palettes out of the market. I was like, okay, no, let's just have everything match and have the best formula that we can have. So I respect that on a brand. I'm looking forward to trying the Sleepover palette in the summer when I get my hands on it in the US. But overall, very positive experience, even though it was kind of an impulse buy. I was like, oh, it's just on sale and let's buy 4 palettes for $50. You know, it was one of those days in the winter break when it's like those days before Christmas where you don't really know what you're doing and things happen and it's like, and then when the packages start showing up at your house and you're like, oh boy, what have I done? But in this case, no regrets. I really have a very positive impression of the brand. Looking forward to trying the Don't Be Jelly palette in the future. I would love to try some of their lip products as well. And of course their highlighters, which are kind of those very impactful, shiny, kind of galactic highlighters, which I really enjoy. I kind of enjoy that vibe. So overall, a very positive impression of Unearthly. I'm really glad I got to try them early in 2024 thanks to that late sale in 2023. So all good things. Starting solid with an indie brand. Let's keep going with another indie brand, which I haven't tried, but I made an order. So that is coming. And that's Rituel de Fille. So I wasn't really familiar with Rituel de Fille until I started getting involved with beauty YouTube, and I started seeing people talking about things like the thorn oil, and later, earlier this year, things like their lip products and their new mascara and that sort of thing. So when they did their Lab Access release for feedback from the community for their newest makeup release, which is going to be a concealer, I was like, maybe this is my chance to try the brand. So I picked up 2 shades of their new Creator Concealer. They're on the way. And I also decided to try some samples. So I picked up a couple of shades of the 3-drop foundation that they released last year. Basically, I picked up the 3 shades that are like tan with neutral undertones. Let's see how it goes. I picked up 2 shades of the concealer. I also picked up a sample of the Thorn Oil to try it as a makeup primer. And then I also picked up some samples of the Petit Couleur to try in my eyes. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited, but we'll see how it goes. So those are the products that are coming my way and I'm gonna be trying. Expect a dedicated video for the brand. We're just gonna do a whole thing of trying Rituel de Fille and we'll see how it goes. I think that one of the things that I'm most excited to try next is going to be their mascara. I've seen really good reviews of it. I've seen some of my favorite creators enjoy it. I've also seen makeup artists like Katie Jane Hughes use it heavily. So I'm curious. I'm definitely curious. I'm always down for trying mascaras and I'll need to be replacing mascaras probably by the end of March. So I'm gonna be placing an order from there to try the mascara. I can see myself liking the Thorn Oil, especially now that the weather is gonna start turning much hotter where I am in the Middle East. So that's coming up. So I haven't tried it, but I've already taken steps to try it. Rituel de Fille, second brand on my list. Next, for the other 3 brands that I would like to try in 2024 that I've already identified some room in my collection to just bring in some products to replace older ones, and that gives me the chance to replace a product, try a new brand, you know. All of these brands are completely new to me. I haven't tried anything from them, but I will be dropping some links in the description box of some of the products that I'm thinking about trying, that I've seen favorable reviews of, and that I think that would be a good fit in my collection. Some of those links may be affiliate links, so if you do use them to make a purchase, thank you for supporting my channel, and I may earn a small commission from that purchase if you do use those links. So just keep an eye on those. They will be clearly marked in the description box, of course. But those 3 brands are basically 2 mainstream brands and yet another indie brand. So since we were talking about indie brands before, we started there. Let's talk about the indie brand that I haven't taken steps to try, but I definitely want to try, and I know what I'm going to try, which is Auric. Auric is a small brand. It doesn't have a lot of products. It is Samantha Ravndal's brand, and again, they're not rushing to like release everything, which I appreciate on a brand, but the product that I'm going to be trying is gonna be the Glow Lust, and it's going to replace my Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. When I run out of these, you can see that there's window here on shade 4.5 medium, and this one's not as clear, but there's a little bit of window over here in shade 6.5 deep. What kept me from trying Auric, and the product is gonna be the Auric Glow Lust, because it's essentially a product very similar to this one. What kept me from trying the Glow Lust is that the bottle is really big, and I like to have multiple shades of a product like this because I use it as a primer. So when they announced that they were gonna be releasing travel sizes, I was like, okay, this is my chance. When the time comes, I'm gonna try those. And so when I finish my Hollywood Flawless Filter minis, then I'm gonna be trying the Auric Glow Lust in a couple of different shades. I'll pop a picture of the 2 shades that I think would be the best fit based on the ones that I have for the Charlotte Tilbury product, but that's gonna be my first try for Auric. I just think that to try a product like the Glow Lust, a travel size, a mini size is better for me, so that if I want to buy a big one, I can. But since I like to have different sizes of that kind of product, I think that the travel size, the mini, is gonna be a good call. Now, let's finish up with the 2, let's call them mainstream designer brands that I want to try in 2024. One of them I want to try more than the other. One is a little bit like trying it for science and kind of to see where things are gonna go when something else happens. And the other one is like, no, this all looks really, really good. I think this is gonna be a positive experience for me. Let's start with the trying it for science one, and that is Gucci. Let me explain what I mean with this. So first of all, Gucci does have some products that seem to be, you know, have a positive reception in the beauty space, and you know, it's a luxury brand, it makes beautiful packaging, and some of the things that they seem to be releasing seem to be good. So I'd be down to try the concealer, I'd be down to try a lipstick, maybe some cheek products, maybe a bronzer, although I've seen some reviews about that bronzer being kind of orange, so maybe a blush instead. I haven't bought a powder blush in a hot minute, so maybe it should be a Gucci, I don't know. But it would definitely be concealer for a complexion product, maybe a lipstick or a lip gloss or something like that. The lipsticks do have really nice packaging, I appreciate that, and the shades seem to be really interesting, and possibly a blush. Those are kind of the 3 things that I'm eyeing. But here is my ulterior motive for wanting to try Gucci. My ulterior motive is who owns Gucci and who makes Gucci, which is Coty. And Coty is going to be the incubator, the parent company responsible for bringing Marc Jacobs Beauty back in 2025. If you want to know my thoughts about the return of Marc Jacobs Beauty, I'll leave my video on that topic in the card so that you can check it out. My hopes and dreams for the return of Marc Jacobs Beauty. If you wanna know what I'm looking most forward to. So I think that Marc Jacobs Beauty, as far as brands in the Coty catalog, is gonna be like the edgier sister to Gucci. Like Gucci is the classy one, Marc Jacobs Beauty is the edgy one. That's the way that I envision it happening. But I do wanna know, based on what Coty can do already right now in terms of formulation for luxury beauty products, I want to see what they can do with Gucci so that I can see what they could possibly do with Marc Jacobs Beauty. I don't know if that will, extrapolate. I don't know if Marc Jacobs will bring its own formulations or what's gonna happen. I doubt it, because Marc Jacobs Beauty used to be Kendo, and that's a completely different incubator. But I wanna see what Coty can do with a luxury brand or a designer brand. So that's really my main interest in trying Gucci Beauty. So maybe a concealer, maybe a blush, or maybe a lipstick. We shall see. Last but not least, the fifth brand that I want to try in 2024, and I've identified so many products on this one that who knows what's going to happen, is YSL. I've never tried a YSL makeup product before, not to my recollection. I don't think so. I can't even ever remember getting a sample of YSL makeup. But I've tried YSL fragrances. I own Black Opium. I've had multiple bottles of Libre because I really like it. My husband loves it. So my experience with YSL fragrances is really positive. And I've seen really, really good reviews of the makeup. The All Hours foundation and concealer have really good reviews. I'm probably gonna be on the market for one of those things in the future this year. The new tinted moisturizers also have good reviews. This is the state of one of my tinted moisturizers. I will say one thing, this packaging does allow for good squeezing, so that's a positive, but I'll probably be getting a tinted moisturizer sometime this year, a more hydrating one, so maybe it's gonna be the YSL new. I don't know yet, but it could be that one and maybe other ones, because it's kind of the direction in which I'm going for complexion, more tinted moisturizer, and then like reinforcing with concealer on like spots and whatever, that sort of thing. It's what I have on my face today. And I'll let you know what's on my face at the end of the video if you are curious, and I'll also put the links to those products in the description box, and those links may be affiliate, just so you know, in case that you purchase through them, you know that I may earn a commission, just to be 100 over here. So again, going back to YSL, I'm also curious about, again, from the new line, some other cream blushes. Lipsticks I'm also interested in, especially the Candy Glaze lip balms. The eye quads look beautiful. I'm gonna be honest with you, I probably have those shades that they do in the YSL quads, but they look so pretty. They look like little clutch print thingy, and they did the same thing with the bronzer, and it's like, oh. If you're a sucker for packaging, be careful with YSL, because they really know what they're doing packaging wise. It looks so luxurious. I wanna stop by a counter and see if I can at least touch the packaging and take a closer look at it. They also have the Lash Clash mascara, which seems to be a big favorite of some people. So it could be that. It could be that. It could be that. There's a lot of possibilities with YSL. They seem to be coming in really strong to kind of take their space in the luxury makeup and the designer makeup category. So they've caught my eye. So one or multiple of their products might make their way to my collection. Let's wrap things up just by letting you know what's on my face. Mainly, we're gonna focus on eyes and cheeks. So to wrap things up, because I know that inquiring minds might want to know, I'm just gonna share what's on my eyes and on my cheeks today. On my eyes, Natasha Denona Zendo. I've made a very strong case in this channel for my belief that this is a fall palette, but I also use it a lot in the spring, which was when it was originally launched. Look at this color story. It's beautiful. So that's what's in my eyes today. And then on my cheeks, for bronzer, we have the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Cream Bronzer, Pan Embossed and Completely Gone. I wear the shade 3, Tan, like almost every complexion cheek product in Charlotte Tilbury. It's most of the time is tan. It's shade 3. I'm also using the Glossier Cloud Paint in Spark. Mine is kind of beat up, but I've made some good progress here. And for highlighter, I'm using the Charlotte Tilbury Beauty Light one in Spotlight, which may or may not be my favorite highlighter of all time. That's it. That's all. So that's gonna be it for this video. I just wanted to share with you some of the brands that have definitely caught my eye and I would love to try in 2024 for the first time, and some of the steps that I'm taking to make that a reality. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this idea and want to share the brands that you want to try in 2024 that you've never tried before and you're a creator, I would love it if you tag me in the video and share your picks. If you want to share your picks in the comments, I would love to hear from you. And you know, if I've tried one of those products, then I can let you know. whether you should maybe go in another direction or if you're going in the right direction. But you know, we learn from each other, and that's the whole point of this space, is for us to share our beauty finds and the things that we love to try in the beauty space and that have worked out for us and what hasn't worked out for us, because we don't gatekeep. We tell our friends. Friends tell friends when makeup is bad. Okay, but I would love to hear from you with any and all of these ideas. Thank you for joining me once again in my makeup shenanigans over here in this channel. If you haven't subscribed, before you go, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so that you're notified of my next video. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.